Well, hello and welcome to Overdevest Nurseries on a very windy afternoon in early spring. Well, it might be cold and blustery outside, but I have to say I'm feeling nice and warm and toasty in here because of all this vibrant warm colour given off by this fantastic variety of alum root, or coral bells as they're sometimes known. It's really amazing when I think back to the days 15 or 20 years ago when the only coral bells we were growing were either kind of green foliaged ones or the ones that we got awfully excited about that they happened to have dark purple leaves. Well, fast forward till today and the brilliant, talented work of plant breeders to bring us these fantastic varieties with all of this colourful foliage. Now for me, of course, if you've been watching any of our other videos, you'll see that I'm a big advocate of plants with variegated or coloured foliage. I love the fact that they're basically beaming out colour anytime the plant has leaves on it, and you don't have to worry about the fickleness of flowers in a frosty morning or a windy, wet day. On the other hand, anytime these plants have foliage on them, you can look forward to lots of glorious coloured foliage. And this particular variety here, which is called Heuchera Rio, named after the vibrant city that really gives it a very appropriate name, is one good example of a fantastic variety that has got multiple uses in our gardens today. Now you could use this at the fronts of beds and borders. You could plant it either singly if you've only got a small space, or better still, kind of like they are here, put them in a nice big bowl drift. You could use them as edgers for alongside paths and driveways, and perhaps even setting off the fronts of beds and borders where you might have taller shrubs or even taller growing perennials in the background. But if one of the uses that I really like for these is to use them in containers. Now this is the sort of thing that you could pop into a window box, or perhaps also just use it to put in a pot to put by the front door, and hey presto, with all of these colorful leaves, you've immediately got foliage color that's going to brighten up the whole scene. And if you do get a little bit of blustery weather conditions, really doesn't matter that much because it's got all of this vibrant colored foliage. Now as I zoom in here, you'll see that this particular variety also flowers. It has these dainty little white flower spikes on red stems that rise up prominently above the crowns, and outdoors this would probably start to happen in the late spring, earlier part of the summer. This is a variety that grows to about 12 inches or 14 inches or so high, will spread out maybe a little less than that when I think about it. Might be more like 10 to 12 inches, maybe then out to about 12 or 14 inches wide, and when it's flowering it will take you up to about 20 inches or so with these flowering spikes. But really, dainty and nice as the flowers are, it's really this vibrant colored foliage that it's grown for. And what's interesting about this leaf color, is that it's continually changing through the season. In springtime, when it comes out first, it has this kind of bright peach color, and when you look at the reverse of the leaves, I think you can see what an attractive plant this makes, even if the wind does kind of ruffle it a little bit. Then it will go through to amber shades, and then as it goes through the summer and progressing into the fall, it will take on deep kind of burgundy tan colors, and then as it gets into the winter time, it's going to take on more of a yellow cinnamon color too. So it's always changing through the seasons, and that's one of the things that I really like about these extremely hardy native varieties, because these have been bred from Native American species. And therefore, if you're able to grow it in your garden anywhere in this region, you'll find that hardiness isn't an issue. But soil conditions is. The last thing these plants want is a heavy clay. Ideally, what they like is a soil that's rich and plenty of organic matter. a nice kind of loose fluffy soil is ideal. So it's worth, when you plant these, taking your time and working in plenty of organic matter, digging a good sized hole, making sure not to plant them too deep, and then watering them well until they get established, and perhaps even putting down a little bit of a mulch around them too. That will really help to get them established and growing, and of course then it will make lots of this luxuriant growth, which will add even more color to the plant. Outside of that, they really don't need much more maintenance. You might find in springtime, just before the new growth begins, that you'd have to go through and trim away some of the remains of the old leaves from last year. It'll then regrow out from the ground and then in no time at all show up. And I would say that maybe about every 3 years or so, it's a good idea to just divide them and split them into pieces, put them into a fresh site, add more humus material to them, and that helps to keep the rootstock nice and lush and vigorous. Outside of that, you'll find that they're remarkably easy to grow. And one final thing I need to mention, because I think this is really remarkable, the foliage on many of these plants is really terrific in that it lasts well in a vase of water. If you pick mature leaves that are well established and put them in a vase of water, you'll be astounded how long they last. So lots and lots of really good things to say about this incredibly colorful variety. So whether you've got a windy day or not, I think you're certainly going to enjoy this beautiful Heuchera, which was raised by Terra Nova Nurseries. This is Heuchera Rio.